Welcome to Neural Now, your daily dose of AI that actually matters. New tools, breaking news, and everything you need to stay ahead. Let's get into it.
NVIDIA is coming for everything. And I mean everything. Last week, NVIDIA dropped $20 billion on a company called Groq. But here's the thing. They're saying it's not an acquisition. They're calling it a licensing deal. $20 billion for a license. Let me explain what's actually happening here, because this is one of the smartest and maybe shadiest moves in tech history. On December 24th, NVIDIA announced they were paying $20 billion in cash for Groq's assets. Groq was valued at $6.9 billion just 3 months earlier, so NVIDIA paid almost 3 times that. The deal includes Groq's technology, their patents, and, here's the important part, 90% of their employees, including the CEO, Jonathan Ross, and President Sunny Madra. They're all going to NVIDIA now. But officially, NVIDIA says this is just a non-exclusive licensing agreement. Jensen Huang himself said, quote, "We are not acquiring Groq as a company." Come on. You paid $20 billion. You took 90% of their people. You got the CEO. But it's not an acquisition? This is what I'm calling a hacquisition. They hacked the acquisition process. They got everything they wanted, the talent, the tech, the competitive threat eliminated, without triggering a full merger review. And honestly, I kind of respect it. So why did NVIDIA want Groq so badly? To understand that, you need to know what Groq actually makes. Groq builds LPUs, language processing units, not GPUs. These are completely different chips designed for a completely different job. See, NVIDIA's GPUs dominate AI training. When you're building a model like GPT or Claude, you need massive parallel processing power. GPUs are perfect for that. But once the model is trained, you need to run it. That's called inference. Every time you ask ChatGPT a question, that's inference. And inference has different requirements. Groq's LPUs are deterministic, compiler-first designs. They bypass GPU bottlenecks like HBM memory. They're optimized specifically for running trained models, faster and cheaper than GPUs. Here's the thing people miss about NVIDIA. Everyone calls them a GPU company, but they're not. They're a chip company. They're a compute company. GPU, LPU, TPU. What's it matter? NVIDIA will make whatever chip the market needs. And right now, the market is shifting. Training was the gold rush of 2023 and 2024. But inference? That's the gold rush of 2025 and beyond. Every AI application, every chatbot, every real-time system, that's all inference. And NVIDIA looked at Groq and said, "We need that." Not because they're scared, because they're smart. They have to own inference the same way they own training. Otherwise, someone else will. Jensen Huang has already said they're incorporating Groq's low-latency processors into what he calls the NVIDIA AI Factory architecture. That's their vision for AI infrastructure. Massive data centers optimized for every part of the AI pipeline. Training, inference, real-time deployment. All of it under one roof. All of it NVIDIA. The speculation in the industry is that we'll see hybrid designs in future NVIDIA chips, possibly in the post-Rubin generation. They're calling it Feynman, around 2028. The technical prediction is this. LPU-like units with large SRAM banks for inference could be stacked as separate dies on the main GPU die. Think of it like AMD's 3D V-cache technology, where they stack extra cache on top of the processor. NVIDIA could use advanced packaging from TSMC, hybrid bonding, to put training and inference capabilities on the same chip. Not fully merged into one monolithic design, not completely separate either. A hybrid. GPUs handle the training and compute-heavy workloads. Dedicated LPU elements boost inference efficiency. Best of both worlds. This is what people aren't seeing. NVIDIA didn't spend $20 billion just to kill a competitor. They did that too. Groq was a real threat to their inference business. But the bigger play is absorbing the technology. They're not defending GPU territory. They're expanding their empire into whatever silicon AI needs. Training and inference. Today and tomorrow. They want it all. Now, about that deal structure. Analysts are calling this exactly what it is. Hedgeye said it's essentially an acquisition without being labeled one to avoid regulators. CNBC said the structure keeps the fiction of competition alive. NVIDIA already dominates AI chips. If they did a traditional acquisition of a competitor, regulators would be all over it. The FTC has been cracking down on big tech consolidation. So, NVIDIA got creative. License the tech, hire the people, pay the money. But don't call it an acquisition. Will regulators see through it? Maybe. But by the time they figure it out, the talent is already at NVIDIA, the tech is already integrated, and Groq, as a competitor, is already gone. Look, you can call it shady, you can call it smart. I call it both. NVIDIA saw the future. Inference is king, and they moved. They didn't wait for regulators to tell them no, they found a way. That's why they're worth $3 trillion. That's why Jensen Huang is one of the most important CEOs in the world right now. Here's what I think happens next. Short term, NVIDIA integrates Groq's team into their inference division. We'll see new products optimized for real-time AI deployment. Medium term, hybrid systems where GPUs and LPU-style chips work together via NVLink. Tiered solutions for different workloads. Training here, inference there, all NVIDIA. Long term, 2028 and beyond. True hybrid chips. The Feynman generation. One package that does it all. NVIDIA's moat gets wider. They dominate training. They dominate inference. They dominate the entire AI compute stack. If you're watching the AI race unfold, this is one of the most important moves of 2025. ABC pulled off a $20 billion acquisition. They snagged the talent. They licensed the LPU tech. They grabbed the inference crown. And they did it without a full merger, dodging regulators while positioning themselves to dominate AI from training to real-time deployment. They're not a GPU company anymore. They're the AI chip company. And they're coming for everything. I'm watching NVIDIA very closely in 2026. You should too. That's all for this one. If you found this useful, subscribe. We break down AI news like this every week. See you in the next one.